Picture yourself in one of America's most prestigious universities, where knowledge shapes futures and reputations are built on academic excellence. In the hallowed halls of this institution, Dr. Linda Markham's advanced calculus class had become legendary for two things: her brilliant mathematical mind and her increasingly vocal political agenda. On this particular autumn morning, students filed into the lecture hall to find something unusual. The whiteboard, typically covered in complex mathematical equations, displayed a simple but loaded message. Today's topic: redefining academic priorities. In the back row sat Barron Trump, a tall, composed young man in an impeccably pressed black suit. Though his classmates knew little about him personally, his presence commanded a quiet respect. Dr. Markham entered the room with purposeful strides, her usual confident demeanor tinged with an almost aggressive energy. "Mathematics," she declared, her voice filling the lecture hall, while important, must make room for more pressing social discussions. The students shifted uncomfortably in their seats as she outlined her vision for a balanced curriculum that seemed to prioritize everything but mathematics. Barron's hand rose slowly but steadily into the air. Dr. Markham's eyes narrowed slightly at this unexpected challenge to her authority. She continued speaking, her presentation evolving from curriculum changes into a pointed commentary on privilege in education. Her PowerPoint slides showed statistics about gender representation in STEM fields, but her message carried unmistakable undertones. "Some of you," she said, her gaze deliberately sweeping towards certain students, "might need to accept that your privileged position in this class doesn't necessarily reflect merit." The implication hung heavy in the air as she clicked to the next slide, showing statistics about family wealth and educational advantages. Throughout her pointed presentation, Barron's hand remained raised, patient, and unwavering. Other students began glancing back at him, some nodding in silent support, grateful that someone was willing to speak up. When Dr. Markham finally acknowledged him, her voice carried a mix of irritation and condescension. "Yes, Mr. Trump? Do you have something to contribute to our discussion about privilege and education?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew about Barron's perfect test scores and his quiet dedication to helping struggling classmates in the library after hours. Barron's response was measured and respectful. "Dr. Markham, calculus is fundamental to understanding both theoretical and applied sciences. Many of us chose this advanced class specifically to deepen our mathematical knowledge." He paused thoughtfully. Wouldn't reducing the core curriculum potentially disadvantage all students, regardless of their background? The professor's expression hardened. "Mr. Trump," she emphasized his surname, "perhaps you could benefit most from understanding how privilege shapes our educational system. After all, not everyone had private tutors and elite prep schools at their disposal." What happened next surprised everyone. Instead of becoming defensive, Barron smiled gently. "You're right about one thing, Professor. I have been fortunate in my education. That's precisely why I believe we have a responsibility to maintain high academic standards so everyone can reach their full potential." The professor's face flushed. This wasn't the reaction she'd expected. "And you think you know better than your professor about maintaining academic standards?" Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "Tell me, what makes you such an expert on mathematical education?" "I'm not claiming to be an expert," Barron replied calmly. "I'm just a student who loves mathematics and believes in its power to transcend political divisions." He gestured toward the equation-free whiteboard. "Instead of debating privilege, couldn't we spend this time exploring the beautiful complexities of calculus?" Dr. Markham's eyes narrowed dangerously as she walked slowly to the whiteboard, marker in hand. "Very well, Mr. Trump. Since you're so passionate about mathematics, let's put that passion to the test." She began writing on the board, her hand moving quickly, crafting an equation that made several students gasp. The problem she wrote wasn't just any calculus problem. It was the kind of complex integration that even graduate students would struggle with. Several students shifted uncomfortably, recognizing this as a clear attempt at public humiliation. One student even muttered, "That's graduate-level stuff," but Barron's expression remained unchanged, his composure unwavering. "Of course," he said quietly, standing up. "I'd be happy to try." As he walked toward the front of the room, Dr. Markham's smirk widened. She'd chosen this problem specifically because it required techniques she hadn't taught yet. "The beauty of mathematics," he said, addressing both the professor and dean, "is that it doesn't care about our politics, our backgrounds, or our biases. It only cares about truth." He gestured to his solutions. "When we let our preconceptions cloud our judgment, we miss opportunities to grow." The impact was immediate and far-reaching. Students began standing up, voicing their desire to learn calculus rather than engage in political discussions. But before the situation could deteriorate, Barron offered a solution, combining Dr. Markham's theoretical expertise with practical problem-solving approaches. Dr. Markham's admission of her mistake marked a turning point. For years, we are feared, she said. I've been so focused on fighting perceived privilege that I became exactly what I claimed to oppose, someone who judges based on preconceptions rather than merit. The story spread across campus, but not as a tale of humiliation. Instead, it became a story of transformation. In the weeks that followed, class attendance tripled. Students came not just to learn mathematics, but to witness a remarkable partnership between Barron and Dr. Markham. The class became known as a place where questions were welcomed, merit truly mattered, and learning transcended political divisions. Weeks later, Dr. Markham approached Barron after class. "You know," she said, "you could have destroyed my career that day. Instead, you helped save it." Barron's response reflected wisdom beyond his years. "The goal was never to tear anyone down, Professor. It was to lift everyone up." Today, that calculus class serves as a powerful reminder that true education isn't about power struggles or political agendas. It's about the pursuit of knowledge, the courage to stand up for what's right, and the wisdom to do so with grace. And Barron Trump, he still sits in the back of the class, still helps struggling students, and still believes that the greatest privilege of all is the opportunity to learn and to help others do the same. The impact of that day resonates far beyond the walls of that classroom. It's a testament to how one person's commitment to truth, combined with grace under pressure, can transform conflict into opportunity. In an era where academic spaces often become battlegrounds for ideological disputes, this story reminds us that knowledge, properly shared, has the power to bridge divides and elevate everyone involved.